and my video just started recording itself somehow there. So obviously I was meant to just jump in without any prior preparation. I was actually just putting on some in-tune roller there just to help me focus a little bit. It is Gemini season after all, and that is a time when we can get a little bit scattered in the mental realms. So I wanted to just come and say a few words about the current energies that we're in at the moment, collectively in the big energies of change that we're in, just to give a little bit of perspective. I know many of you ask me about the astrology, and a lot of the time I assume that most people kind of follow astrology and already know what's going on, but I guess I forget that many of you might already know, but some of you don't as well. So just wanted to touch on why this is such a big time in history right now, collectively for all of us. New beginnings and all that sort of thing. Feels like I've been talking about new beginnings for ages, but it's like cycles within cycles that really anchor that in at the moment. And at the moment, today actually, as I'm recording this, it is a new moon in probably about 10 minutes or something. And why this is a supportive time to open the doorway to the future. And I was just starting to write my newsletter last night, and the heading came in, this new moon is almost like a trailer for our future stories. So there's an invitation here to get clear on who we want to be next and how we want to show up in the world as our authentic selves as well. And I guess that's probably a good place to start, really, because what's been coming through for me, and I'll see if it resonates, I'd love to hear if it resonates with you, and in line with Gemini season being a mutable sign, is that I feel like there's something about where we push ourselves down, we don't fully share our authentic selves in certain situations. And to some degree that can be appropriate, because sometimes we need to adapt ourselves somewhat, depending on where we are. If we're at work, we may not be the same as we are in a social setting. But I feel like we're coming into a time now where it becomes important to kind of blur those boundaries a little bit more and be courageous enough to claim who you are in all situations. And that might mean exposing, being willing to expose yourself a little bit in certain settings, if that makes sense. So let's say right now I'm actually driving to work. I'm off to one of my schools to teach drums and percussion, so I'm still doing that 2 days a week or so. And it's like, I feel like, I'll go in there as one version of myself, but the invitation could be today, like, how could I share a little bit of my astrology? It's like, it's a new moon today, it's a new beginning. Or, sharing my oils, like if someone's, there's been a lot of sickness going around the place, and being willing to be brave enough to say, oh, look, have you ever considered natural products? I've got things that I use that really help me in my health and well-being. Would you like me to share it with you? And that can feel really raw and really scary to kind of blur the boundaries of the different parts of my life. But I think we're coming into a time now where, especially as Saturn has just moved into Aries, Neptune's just been in Aries since the end of March, and Aries is one of the big, well, it's the first sign of the zodiac, but this is one of the big areas in our charts right now in the skies that is representing this new beginning point. And Aries itself is about this I am energy of being who I am and being unapologetic. I always think of that typical archetypal Aryan energy, being the god of war, as, I don't know, those kind of guys that you meet and they're kind of a bit brash and bogan, maybe they probably swear, but they don't really care. Like they don't give too many F's, they just take me as I am. There's an honesty to it as well, which is off-putting, but the healthy expression of that is probably something we can all embrace a little bit more. And so that's the energy we're coming into. That's one of the energies. Along with, of course, sextiling that energy is Pluto in Aquarius. All these big, heavy hitter outer planet, slow-moving planets, having just moved into Aries. Officially, I think it was the start of the year. It finally moved in after a long time in and out. But Aquarius, Pluto in Aquarius, I meant to say. Pluto in Aquarius is the energy of also a version of being our authentic self as well, and being willing to be our authentic self, whether that's a little bit eccentric or quirky or outside of the box. And because Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, which is very much that quirky, or really more about freedom, being fully your full version of yourself, is kind of what I'm saying. So Pluto going in there kind of breaks down any parts of ourself that isn't that. So there's something about this collective energy. Aquarius kind of rules collective energies, networks, tribes and groups, where if we're not being our authentic self, we're not able to find our tribe. We're not able to find those people that are aligned with who we are now through all the growth that we've been through. So that's part of the energies. And then the other big outer planet is Uranus, which is kind of on the other side of the Aries energies. These are all in harmonious alignment with each other at the end of Taurus, and that's going to be moving into Gemini at the start of July, I believe. So again, all these outer planets moving and all in harmony with each other represents this massive new start for humanity, because they stay in their sign for such a long time. And then we've got the social planets, which stay in the same sign for 1 or 2 years. Jupiter about 1 year, Saturn for 2. And as I said, Saturn has just moved into Aries. So, and I can speak to this a bit because Saturn and Neptune are together at the start of Aries, at this beginning created point. And for me, that is actually where my Mercury sign, my planet of communication, is as well. So I guess I'm feeling these energies quite personally, and that's probably why I'm doing a video right now and speaking in alignment with Gemini energy too, the new moon, and currently Mercury is actually in Gemini as well. So there's this highlight around communication and expressing and sharing my thoughts and ideas, and remembering to take a breath as well. Gemini also rules the lungs and breathing and the nervous system. Always I like to take a breath of my perfume. I've been wearing my doTERRA pure fume, as I call it. And so yeah, there's this energy of a new beginning wherever we have the start of Aries, but also today, where you have early degrees of Gemini in your chart as well, is a new beginning, and it's all connected. So I feel like there's a permission slip here to embrace all parts of you, because again, Gemini, being a mutable air sign, is very adaptable, very much a chameleon. And again, to explain this in a personal way, I also have not only a Gemini moon myself, but a Gemini rising and Gemini ascendant. So how I come across to others, how I sort of present is in this Gemini way. Hence I talk with my hands, and Gemini rules the hands. And when I'm feeling like I'm being myself, I'm quite expressive and can be quite playful and friendly and communicative and social. I'm not always in that mode, but when I'm sort of feeling good and my energy's good, that's kind of my natural state of being. I love, interacting with people in my community. When I'm, going to the shops, or I live in Dunsborough, so there's this sort of a local community sort of vibe to it. Going to my yoga class this morning, always bumping into people I know, just interacting in my neighbourhood, which feels really nourishing and good. So yeah, Gemini is this energy of sharing information, and I always think of it as the buzzy bee that's kind of pollinating flowers and sharing information, networking. And what I feel for me though is that I've always had these little subgroups of life. You know, over here there's my church area of life, there's my school, my mum hat with parents of my children's friends from school, and then I've got like my social group over here, and my kind of the work I do with Ty over here, the shamanic immersion work over here, the spiritual work, the women's circle kind of energies. They're all slightly different versions of myself, and I suppose as I've gotten older I've learned how to kind of find myself in that, in each of those a little bit more. In fact, Facebook being a very good example of Gemini energy, I feel over the years has actually helped me to learn how to be more of myself, because you're kind of putting forward this one version of yourself. And I used to always observe some people always seem to be quite thematic, like they would be the person that would be the horse person. They would always talk about horses, let's say, or I don't know, always talking about their family, or talking about whatever. Like it seemed like there'd be a few themes, whereas I always felt like this anomaly that didn't really fit, because one minute I'd be talking about health things, I'd be talking about some random meme, some joke, I don't know, it just you couldn't really put my posts into any kind of theme. And for the longest time, even on my Facebook, I had my description of myself as I'm a multifaceted being, because I couldn't really find a way to sum myself up in any way that was anything other than like trying to cover all my bases. So yeah, so it's like just an invitation or a question for you is how much of yourself are you embodying? How much of yourself are you expressing or sharing with other people? Or are you hiding parts of yourself away? And right now there's this new beginning with Aries, this early degrees of Aries energies of I am. It's like the birthing energy, the newborn baby. I've arrived. And there is an ability, or the energy is supporting us to decide who are we? Who do I want to be? Who do I desire to be? Who have I grown into? All the work that I've been doing up to now. Who do I want to be in this version of myself? Knowing that I get to create that. And for me personally, I've got a lot of Pisces energies in my chart. Saturn's just moved through Pisces, so is Neptune. So I've been through a long period of probably self-doubt and confusion and uncertainty and lack of energy, and feeling like, oh, okay, I'm going to go, I'm going to take an action, and then I retract myself and second guess myself a lot, which traditionally I have. But with this new beginning point, I feel like something big is shifting, and all the hard yards that I've done up to now, the different challenges that I've put myself in, whether it's literally things like stepping in to coach my daughter's netball team, or to co-facilitate the shamanic immersion retreats with Ty, or working with some high-profile clients in the recovery addiction work that I've been doing as well. Different things like that. Like it's just little incremental things that come up in my life where it's like, oh, this feels challenging, and then each time you do it, you prove to yourself, wow, I can do that. And what if I was the only one standing in my own way? And what if I got to create this version of myself just because I say so? So again, the Gemini New Moon asks us to bring our words and our thoughts into form. It's like what we think affects what we say, and then what we say affects how we feel, and then it all affects what we're creating out in the world. Our words are creating our reality. We're also coming into a time where energy is speaking louder than words. Our telepathic with AI and all these kind of non-human forms of technologies, there's also, and you might be feeling this, there's also our human intuitive gifts coming online as well. So our thoughts, our feelings, I don't know, it'd be interesting for you to test this out and see if it feels true for you. And let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear. But I feel our energies are becoming really loud. So if you walk into a room and you can feel there's someone that doesn't vibe with you, or they don't like you, or whatever it might be, as a manifestor in human design, this happens quite often, and I'm learning to not take it personally. It's like, oh well, that person's not for me. So again, coming back to this being who you are, unapologetically, Aries, allows you to let the people that aren't for you to just fall away and make space for those that are for you and who you are meant to be co-collaborating with and creating life with in this harmonious way. So there's a lot there, but yeah, and something else that I've noticed that I've been doing a little practice is that if I do find myself judging another person, like if I catch myself having negative thoughts about someone or judgmental thoughts about another person, I've started using the Ho'oponopono prayer, and it almost feels like it cancels it out straight away. So it's like if I catch that happening about another person, I'll if I do notice it happening, I'll stop and I'll immediately in my mind apologize. I'll say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. So those 4 words, very, very well-known prayer in the Ho'oponopono tradition, is a really beautiful way to help to clear the energy if we do find that we have, like we do as human beings, not to be hard on ourselves, we judge. That's unfortunately part of the human experience at times. And we judge ourselves. So, bringing it back to ourselves too, if we find ourselves judging ourselves, I'm sorry, really feeling that genuine feeling of being sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. And I find that it's just a helpful way to move through life. Like, can almost just catch things straight away, and where our thoughts can go in one direction or the other, because again, Gemini, it's the twins, it's the choices, it's are we going that way or are we going that way? And at this point in humanity, with humanity changing, we do have a choice point. It's like, do we want to stay back in the old energies that we've been in that haven't been working? And most of us haven't been happy in that energy anyway. So even though change can be challenging and scary at times, if you can tap into the Gemini energy of this, it's actually really exciting. And that's why I feel like this new moon is a really important moment in time where we get to align with it's like this midwifing energy of the new, because it's not going to be, it's happening over a longer range of time, because with outer planets shifting, it's not an immediate instant thing as if things are just happening over time. I mean, you think back to 2020, different timelines and cycles of time, and how much has shifted in that time, and you'll notice that things take time. Bigger time frames need time to unfold and for us to learn our lessons individually, to really anchor in the change. So this new moon in Gemini, being connected with all of these outer planets who have either just moved sign or about to move sign, and the social planets, it's saying it's time to change. But guess what? It can be exciting. And a key word for Gemini is curiosity. So can you tap into the curiosity of, what's going to happen? The excitement of like the childlike curiosity and playfulness of Gemini energy that we're getting this preview into at the moment with all these connections to the outer planets. But it's going to take a while for them to fully move in. Like, I think it's, a big key moment in time will be next February 2026, when Neptune and Saturn in Aries come together properly. They're kind of traveling close, but they're not hitting exact conjunction until that time. So that means that in the meantime, over these next months of 2025, we're in the change, we're in the chaos. You think of birthing. It's not a nice, neat, straight line. If anyone's witnessed birth before, it's messy, it's unexpected. Even if you plan for a birth, and I always recommend people do have birth preferences and things that they would like to happen, but then you prepare as much as you can, and then you have to let it go. In the moment of birth, the bigger intelligence of the universe, of the life force that comes through us, takes over, and all we can do is, well, the easiest way to go about it is to surrender rather than fighting it, because our human selves have no chance against these bigger energies. So all that to say that the cycles that are happening, they're all perfect, they're all divine, they're all intelligent, and our small human minds can often judge that and naturally feel fear, and that's okay. It's not to deny how we're feeling. Using our practices, moving our body, using our essential oils, using all the tools, our breathing that we have at our disposal, often it's just remembering to do them, can help support us through these big time frames of change. And I'm wanting to share more. My intention is to start doing a weekly video and just sharing more of myself, my authentic self, as I feel these big changes happening. The start of Aries is actually happening in my 10th house of career, right on my Mercury, as I said, which happens to be my chart ruler, because as I said, I'm a Gemini rising. So for me, this is a really big, massive time on a personal level, as much as it is for all of us on this big collective level. And that was partly why I wanted to share all of that. And just the other things to mention that's happening with me, if you're interested, because I know I have been on a big break for the last 6+ months. So with my astrology readings, I've been feeling the urge to come back online with those probably in July. I need to do a bit of admin to get my website back up and running properly. I have had a big creative urge recently as well to start sharing my doTERRA essential oils, which I've been using for over 10 years. I said in my last video that I started using them when my youngest daughter, who's now 10, she was like a month old, and I was breastfeeding her at a class at the playgroup, and I could feel how these oils would be such a beautiful way to invite in self-care into my daily life and support my well-being and my health, which they really have. I use them every day, and I realised that they've been there as an amazing support. So I'm really feeling the urge to want to share that more, how that's helping self-care, especially, as I say, with these changes of big outer planet changes. Our nervous systems are shifting, and we need as much support as we can to stay grounded and to support our bodies through these big energetic up levels. So that's another thing that I am doing this month of, as we come into June, I'll be doing some local workshops in Dunsborough, WA. So if you're in the southwest, keep an eye out for that. And I will probably be also doing some online ones as well if you're further afield. So if you're interested in natural products and plant medicines, basically, that can support your body and energy and mood, I look forward to sharing more of that as well. So in the meantime, thanks for listening to my long form video. It's actually really cool to be able to share a video without having to feel like I'm on a 3-minute time limit. So indulging myself there.